Welcome to part 2 of my poker strategy videos. Today we're going to be talking about optimal strategy against tight players. So poker, first and foremost, is a game of frequencies. This can be interpreted as how often people are opening and how often people are calling, and you should pay attention to these actions at the table because these actions dictate the player's playing style and what they may or may not have. And this is how you begin to put people on a range. So we're really going to want to learn how to identify tight players, the tags, the rocks, the people who really play a close to the vest kind of game. We want to develop an understanding on how to exploit tight players pre and post flop. This is a player type. Depending on where they lay on the spectrum, if they on the tighter and passive side, then it's going to be a lot easier to exploit them. If they're more tight and aggressive, it will be more difficult to exploit them. And then we're going to discuss turn and river play. So we want to identify them. Nitty players will have a low pre-flop aggression frequency. This means that they're going to be entering less pots, and when they do, they will usually call unless they're playing a tag play style. They will only play large pots with nuttish hands. This is going to include 2-pair plus or drawing to the nuts. They don't really like to play the check raise game or the big betting on semi bluff kind of thing. They don't really like to do that too much. They really like to have the goods. They will slow play over pairs and other strong hands on the flop, pre-flop, just textbook, tight play. They let go of weak draws, marginal hands. They will let go of marginal hands pre-flop. They frequently have a pain threshold where a certain raise size will define their hand. This is really great for thinning the field and also to begin to put players in general on a range pre-flop, because this will remove certain hands that players would call with, including but not limited to, it depends on the player, but small suited connectors may tend to fold here. Also offsuit Broadway may fold here. Depends. Tags and nits are not to be confused. This really can't be overstated. They could be seen similar to the nit, but the tag plays their hands more aggressively, both pre and post. This allows them to take down more uncontested pots and to play the big ones than they want, because they get to play pots more often when they are heads up because they're trying to thin the field. The nit isn't necessarily doing this. So the nit is known classically as the rock or old man coffee, and it's the player who's always showing up with a good hand. You'll be able to tell who they are because they generally they're graying, or they have a coffee in front of them, or they got the BLT or some open face sandwich from the casino menu, and is talking kind of amicably to the other veterans spending their time at the old casino hall, and they play their solid style too, because all them young guns show up to play, and you know what? They go broke, but old Benny, he plays tight, and he just lets them soar off, and that's kind of the mentality of the nit, the old man coffee. It's a definitely a smart play style in the sense that you're not risking a lot, but we're here to talk about how to exploit them. And how do we exploit them? So we adopt a loose and aggressive play style. Oh boy. Oh my god. This is the best, because we just want to kind of just abuse the fact that they don't open. And, we do want to respect them when they open from early position. In general, you want to respect most early position raises. But if they limp, and if they're doing this from later position, just raise them. Just raise, because sometimes they will fold. And if they do, depending on how many players are at the table, if they limp call, that's a completely different thing. But yeah, you can definitely just raise them. And then we also want to 3-bet them a lot too. if they fight back with maybe a re-raise themselves, then you should really only continue if you have a premium yourself. If you think that you can get them off of their hand by 3-betting them, 4-betting them, even if they have a decent hand, like, good luck. But that could be difficult. It depends if they're scared. If they know if they have a good hand, then they're probably not going to fold it. And then we also want to steal their blinds. Nittier players will let go of their blinds and they won't defend them. And this is easy. This is easy pickings, right? If you start stealing the blinds a little bit more often, that's just an extra big blind an hour, right? So just do it a couple times and that adds up. So for turn and river play, this is where we kind of have to be careful against the nit. We never want to pay them off. So you really want to understand how you get to the river. You want to know what kind of story they're telling and what story you are telling them. And in general, this is true for a lot of players, but especially for the nits, if they start to put money in, be careful, because they probably have a good hand. So hopefully you are drawing to a strong hand, or you yourself have a strong hand. But if you don't have close to the nuts or the nuts, you may need to just fold. And on that, for the last note, most type players, they do tend to be scared of board texture, and we really should be using this to our advantage. And by playing a more loose and aggressive playstyle pre-flop, we can actually hit these boards way more often than the nit can, because they don't have these kind of hands in their range. They don't have the suited connectors. They don't have suited gappers. So we have those, and so we get to really put on the pressure. But that's all well and good, because eventually, when they make their hand, they'll probably win all of our money. So until next time, thank you.